Comedy was something that I had always dreamed of doing. I've been in performing arts my entire life.
Right. Like, what was going on with you before this comedy thing?
Before I started doing comedy?
Yeah, because I know a little bit of your backstory, but like, what was going on?
I was working for the airlines.
Okay.
That's how I got to Atlanta.
Okay.
But before that, I was in the hotel business.
Where were you coming out of before Atlanta?
I was coming out of Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama.
Born and raised.
Okay.
Yeah, Roll Tide. And so I was front office manager for the Marriott and Hilton for about 10 years between both hotels. And one day I was checking in the recruiter for AirTran Airlines. And she was just like, I just think you have a wonderful personality. You're tall and you're attractive. You ever thought about being a flight attendant? And at the time, a few people had told me, you would make a great flight attendant. So I was like, yeah, I have thought about it. So she basically offered me the job on spot.
Wow.
And maybe about 3 or 4 months later, AirTran moved me from Mobile to Atlanta for the training. I did not get my wings.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
What was the reason behind that?
So the last exam, you had to make the training was 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. You had to make 90% each test or you get sent home. So I was from 90 to 100% on each test. And then I got to the final exam and I changed one of my answers. I had the correct answer. And the question was, how many feet in the air is the plane when it's in stereo cockpit?
Okay.
And I had the right answer, and I second guessed myself, and I changed it, along with getting 2 or 3 other answers wrong. It was only like a 10 to 15 question test, and I made an 89.
Dang.
And I did not get my wings. I stayed in Atlanta. One of the guys that I was in flight attendant school with, his name was Byron. He actually let me live with him, and he took me to the comedy club to just kind of cheer me up because I was bombed out.
Wow.
I done came my way to Atlanta and told everybody I'm about to be a flight attendant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the graduation was 2 days after the exam, so I had to call down to Mobile, tell my mom and them not to come.
Was that a big thing for your family? Someone to kind of land a position like that was.
Yeah, it was, and it was a big thing for me at the time, and for me to have to call down and tell everybody that I didn't make it was a blow at the time. But like I said, my friend took me to the comedy club, which was Uptown Comedy Corner. Shout out to Uptown, my home club right now. And so we went to go see Tony Roberts. But it was at that moment I was in the comedy club, and I was like, number one, this is my first time being in a real life comedy club. Comedy was something that I had always dreamed of doing. I've been in performing arts my entire life, so being on the stage I wasn't a stranger to that. I was in performing arts for 6th grade on up. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. So I came back maybe a couple of weeks later and I got a job at the comedy club.
Okay. And you end up becoming a waitress.
I was a cocktail waitress.
And so you being a waitress, the bug kind of hit you in that moment?
It did. I came in, like I said, a couple of weeks later, and I met the owner, Mr. Craig. I came in during the day, and I told him I wanted to be a comedian.
Wow.
So I was like, I just want to work here, whether it's in the office, answering the phones, or doing whatever. And, I want a job. I'm new to the city, and I want to do comedy. He said, okay, well, I'm going to teach you about comedy, and I'm going to hire you as a cocktail waitress. And just being in the comedy club, seeing all the comedians, networking, watching them on stage, you know what I mean? Yeah,
I thought it was so interesting because I'm sure some of the people that you were seeing then are still around today.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Any weird, pass-bys that they remember you? Because they treat sometimes waitresses don't get treated too great.
Right. It was different for me though, because of my personality, because I expressed to every single solitary comedian that I met that's why I was there. And it seemed like they supported me off the rip, because I would sign up as a waitress for the open mic. And Griff used to do the open mic on Wednesday nights, and I would sign up every Wednesday, and every Wednesday I would just punk out. But every Wednesday I had the support from my staff and from the other comedians, you're gonna do it this time, Ashima. Come on, Ashima, you could do it this time, because I was already funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Pat Brown, shout out to Pat Brown, was one of the first people to put me on stage, and I finally went up on the third show on a Friday night at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
For like the first time at Uptown.
How did that go?
It went good. It went real good. It went good. It went good for my first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I didn't, after I'd done that third show at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I started doing the open mics around the city instead of doing Uptown. Because you pretty much got to be a beast before you get on Uptown stage. You know, you got to like be ready. Mm-hmm. That was a big deal then.
How was the crowd back then?
Ooh, rowdy. You know, wasn't impressed. That's when T.I. had Tripping on Tuesdays and Lil Duval used to host, and it was a boo night. Griff had Wednesday nights where he was on the radio and you get the keys.
Mm-hmm. That's comedian Griff.
Yeah, comedian Griff.
He's out of Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Wanda Smith from V103 had Friday and Saturday nights. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you had to come with your A game. So I would do the open mics around the city, like Cat's Cafe was one of the places where I first started. Taboo 2, The Pearl on the east side. Carlos had throwbacks on Thursdays. That was just rowdy, and you had to be funny.